I never imagined holding life in my arms could feel like a thunderclap and a lullaby at the same time. My daughter, Lily, swaddled in a tiny lavender blanket, cooed softly as I traced the delicate curve of her cheek. Lakeside Memorial Hospital smelled faintly of antiseptic and flowers from the visitors who had crowded the hall earlier. Daniel slipped into the room, his eyes lighting up when he saw Lily. "Hey, little star," he whispered, brushing a stray curl from her forehead. I leaned back against the pillows, feeling the weight of exhaustion and joy simultaneously. Just as I was beginning to savor the quiet, there was a knock, followed by Vanessa's overly cheerful voice. "Hannah!" I couldn't stay away. "She's just adorable, isn't she?" I forced a smile, my instincts twitching. Vanessa Holt had always been a friend, at least, that's what I thought, but there was always something a little too rehearsed in her expressions, a little too eager to insert herself where she didn't belong. "She's perfect," I said cautiously. "Thanks for coming." Vanessa leaned in, almost hovering, her perfume too sweet, filling the tiny hospital room. "I mean, just look at her tiny fingers. Wait until you see them grab my hand one day." I blinked. "Your hand?" Vanessa laughed lightly, waving it off. "Oh, I'm just joking." But her eyes lingered on Lily, and something in that glance made a cold spike of unease run through me. Daniel frowned. "Everything okay, Hannah?" I nodded, though my stomach twisted. Vanessa stayed longer than anyone had any reason to. She commented on the nursery, asked about the delivery, and, oddly, kept glancing at the hospital wristband on Lily's tiny arm. Every time I tried to steer the conversation back to normal, she veered it elsewhere. By the time Vanessa left, a lingering tension had settled over me. I sank into the pillows, exhausted but unable to shake the feeling that something wasn't right. "I don't like her hovering like that," I murmured to Daniel, who sat next to me holding Lily close. Daniel kissed my temple. "She's a friend, Hannah. Maybe she's just excited." I wanted to believe him, I really did. But the way Vanessa's eyes had tracked Lily, the subtle insistence in her tone, it left a residue of doubt. A small whisper at the back of my mind muttered, "Keep your eyes open." That night, as I watched Lily sleep, I swore to myself I would. No one would come between my family without facing the consequences. It started as a small gathering at the Greenwood Community Center, a local moms meet-up. I had reluctantly agreed to go, partly because I wanted to show Lily off, partly because Daniel insisted I not isolate myself. I carried Lily in a soft sling, her little head resting against my chest, as women chatted in clusters, babies cooing and gurgling all around. Vanessa was there before me, of course. She sat in a corner with that same exaggerated sweetness plastered on her face, pretending to fumble with a diaper bag. As soon as she spotted me, her smile widened, too wide, and she waved, beckoning me over. I hesitated. Something in the pit of my stomach told me this wouldn't be casual. "Hi, Hannah," Vanessa chirped as I approached. She held her hands out, almost as if she were about to cradle a baby, mine. I just wanted to, see her. I tightened my grip on Lily. "She's fine, Vanessa." "Thank you." Vanessa tilted her head, her eyes glinting. "I actually have something I need to tell everyone," she said, louder now. Heads turned. My pulse jumped. I frowned. "Tell, what?" Vanessa took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping the room dramatically. "This might be hard to hear, but Lily is mine." The words hung in the air like ice. I blinked. "Excuse me?" Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mothers shifted uncomfortably. Some stared, wide-eyed. Others whispered to their neighbors, trying to process the claim. Vanessa's voice grew stronger. "I know it sounds unbelievable. I know you all think Hannah here is the mother. But I was at Lakeside Memorial the day she was born. She waved a paper in her hand. I have proof. Look, this says Lily is my daughter. I felt my stomach drop. Daniel's hand found mine, squeezing it tight. No. This isn't possible, he said under his breath. My mind raced. I opened my mouth, but words failed me. How could someone do this? How could Vanessa, my friend, look me in the eyes and say my child belonged to her? One of the other moms, a sweet woman named Claire, whispered, "Hannah, maybe you should explain?" I forced myself to speak, voice shaking but firm. Lily is my daughter. I gave birth to her. Daniel and I are her parents. Vanessa laughed softly, almost mockingly. That's cute. But the hospital papers, the timestamp, the nurses who remember me being there, I could feel every eye on me now. The room was silent except for the faint cries of babies. My mind was spinning, my heart hammering. Daniel's jaw tightened. We'll handle this, he muttered, pulling me slightly aside. But Vanessa wasn't finished. She leaned forward, her tone dropping into something sickly sweet again. I don't want to fight, Hannah. I just want what's mine. Support, attention, maybe even custody. I blinked. Custody? My chest constricted. Rage bubbled beneath the fear. How dare she? I took a deep breath, looking around at the shocked faces. Everyone, I said, louder this time, I understand this looks confusing. But Lily is my daughter. My husband and I were there when she was born. And I will prove it. Vanessa smirked, tilting her head like a cat. Oh, I'm sure you will try. That evening, as we left the community center, Daniel put his arm around me. Hannah, we'll get the evidence. You won't be humiliated like this. I nodded, clutching Lily close. But I also knew something else. This wasn't just about proving the truth. Vanessa had attacked us publicly, and revenge would be inevitable. After the community center incident, everything changed. I expected whispers, I expected doubt, but not the cold shoulder of people I'd called friends. Calls went unanswered, texts ignored, and casual nods in passing felt like silent accusations. Even Daniel seemed tense. He tried to stay strong, but I could see the worry in his eyes. Hannah, he said one evening, sitting across from me at the kitchen table, Lily asleep in her bassinet, people are going to believe whatever Vanessa tells them unless we prove otherwise. I know it hurts, but we have to stay calm. I nodded, trying to steady my voice. I know, Daniel. But it's humiliating. Some of our neighbors, they're avoiding me now. Even the parents at Lily's playgroup. He reached over, squeezing my hand. We'll get the evidence. I promise. I wanted to believe him, but Vanessa had planted a seed of doubt. I began noticing little things, friends' hesitations when they looked at Lily, the way strangers glanced at me in the grocery store, as if expecting a confrontation. Anxiety gnawed at my insides. That night, I lay awake scrolling through my phone, reviewing photos from the hospital. I'd taken dozens, capturing tiny moments, Lily's first cries, her tiny hands clutching mine, the hospital clock in the corner of nearly every shot. And then there were the papers Vanessa had flaunted. Could she have forged them? I knew hospital documents were precise, timestamps couldn't easily be altered. A plan started forming. I needed proof. Not just photos, but hospital logs, records, anything that could disprove her. I remembered a nurse from my stay, Rachel Novak, kind, attentive, and meticulous. Perhaps she could help. The next day, I visited Lakeside Memorial Hospital under the guise of routine follow-up for Lily. My stomach was tight as I explained my request at the records desk. The clerk frowned. We can't release patient records to anyone but the parents. I felt a surge of relief. I am the parent. But I needed more than relief, I needed confirmation. Rachel appeared as if on cue, catching my eye from across the room. "Hannah," she whispered, glancing around. "I heard what happened at the community center." I nodded, leaning closer. "Rachel, I need help. There's someone claiming Lily is hers. She's lying. But I need solid proof, timestamps, delivery records, anything." Rachel hesitated, then smiled faintly. "You're right to want the truth. There's a way to confirm this, but you have to be careful. Hospitals have privacy rules, and Vanessa isn't going to give up easily." Over the next few days, I dug deeper. I revisited every hospital photo, every text Daniel and I had sent about the delivery, every piece of documentation. The logs Rachel helped me access confirmed my story. The birth time, the delivery room, the staff who were present, Vanessa's timeline simply didn't exist. Meanwhile, the social isolation weighed heavier. Some friends tried to tiptoe around us, unsure where their loyalties lay. Others, emboldened by Vanessa's audacity, treated me like the outsider. Each interaction stoked a growing fire inside me. I realized then that this wasn't just about proving Lily's parentage. It was about reclaiming control over my life, over my dignity. And if Vanessa wanted a show, I would give her one, but on my terms. I spent the next week living in a quiet storm. Every thought circled around Vanessa, her smile, her claims, her smug confidence. I couldn't let her get away with this. Not to my baby, not to my life. I started small, checking social media. Vanessa's posts were polished, staged, but one photo caught my eye. Her supposedly celebrating Lily's birth post had a timestamp that didn't match the day I delivered. A small crack, but a crack nonetheless. Then I started visiting places I knew Vanessa had mentioned. The boutique she claimed she had been shopping at during my delivery? Closed that day. Her stories didn't line up. The lies were piling up like dry kindling. Rachel, the nurse from Lakeside Memorial, became my quiet ally. She slipped me small confirmations, details no outsider could know. Vanessa wasn't in delivery that day, she whispered one evening, handing me a folder of hospital logs. She showed up later, asking too many questions. We suspected she wanted something. I absorbed the evidence like a dry sponge drinking water. Each document, each timestamp, each photo pushed me closer to clarity and closer to cold determination. But I didn't act immediately. This had to be perfect. Vanessa loved her audience. She thrived in the spotlight. If I wanted justice, it had to be public. Brutal. Savage. I recorded snippets of conversations when she let her guard down, her bragging to mutual friends about plans to make me look bad, her sly comments about getting support for Lily. Every word was ammunition. Every lie a nail in her coffin. Meanwhile, Daniel tried to keep our world together. He still worked long hours, and I felt the strain in our marriage. He noticed my obsession with the plan. "Hannah, don't let her ruin your peace," he warned one night, holding Lily in his arms. I shook my head, resolute. She already tried. I'm not stopping until everyone knows the truth. I'll make her regret ever claiming Lily. The quiet hunt became ritual. I printed hospital logs, downloaded social media evidence, cataloged timestamps. My living room became a war room, Lily napping nearby. Rachel occasionally dropped by, guiding me, giving subtle advice on how to use hospital evidence without breaking rules. And then it struck me, Vanessa was careless. She wanted attention so badly she left traces of her lies everywhere, files with wrong dates, posts with timestamps, even casual mentions to mutual friends that contradicted reality. She was setting herself up for public exposure, and I would be ready. By the end of the week, the pieces fit together like a precise puzzle. Every lie had a counter. Every false claim had a timestamp. Every evidence Vanessa presented could be dismantled with one confident move. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the neatly arranged evidence. A slow, cold smile spread across my face. Vanessa thought she had me cornered. She thought she was clever. But she didn't realize one thing: I had patience. I had proof. And I had revenge simmering like a pot ready to boil over. The Greenwood Community Center had become a familiar landmark in my mind, though I had visited it only once before. It was a small, modest building with a faded brick facade, a few folding chairs lined up in the hall, and banners of past community events flapping slightly in the breeze. For Vanessa, it was her stage. For me, it would be the place her carefully constructed lies would unravel. I spent days preparing. Every detail mattered. I labeled every file, every screenshot, every timestamp. I cross-referenced hospital logs against social media posts and the subtle boasts Vanessa had shared with mutual friends. Every inconsistency, every slip, was ammunition. I even memorized specific lines she had said, so if she tried to spin a story, I could counter with facts, calmly and publicly. Daniel watched me with a mixture of awe and concern. "Hannah, you're obsessed," he said one evening, after Lily had fallen asleep. She was now a little over a month old, her tiny eyes still fluttering with dreams I could only imagine. "I have to be," I replied, my voice steady despite the exhaustion etched into my features. She humiliated me in front of people who matter. And she thinks she can walk away unscathed? Not this time. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Just, don't let this consume you. Lily needs her mother, not a strategist plotting revenge." I smiled, gently. "Daniel, Lily is my motivation. Everything I do, it's for her." We rehearsed scenarios together. I imagined Vanessa claiming Lily, waving her fake papers, and I would remain composed, precise, and unflappable. No yelling, no tears. Just truth, delivered like a scalpel. Daniel would be my backup, my anchor, and Rachel had agreed to discreetly confirm the hospital logs if needed. The day before the event, I went over everything one last time. My apartment was a war room of evidence: hospital discharge papers neatly stacked, time-stamped photos lined up, screenshots of social media posts and messages cataloged by date, and voice notes of Vanessa's own boasts labeled and time-stamped. I even marked potential witnesses who could corroborate my claims if Vanessa tried to lie in real time. At night, I lay awake, listening to Lily's gentle breathing from her crib. A part of me wanted to retreat from the plan, to protect my heart from the potential backlash, but another part, hot, fierce, unyielding, couldn't allow Vanessa to win. When morning came, the center was bustling with the local moms group, unaware that a confrontation was about to unfold. Vanessa arrived early, smiling, holding her usual forged papers like a trophy. She floated from group to group, her voice dripping with honeyed confidence, sprinkling compliments to anyone who would listen. I arrived shortly after, Daniel carrying Lily. I kept my expression neutral, concealing the storm within. Vanessa's eyes flicked to me immediately. I felt her smirk, the thrill of anticipation that I knew she loved. As we all settled in, Vanessa began her performance. "Everyone," she said, raising her voice to gather attention. "I have something very important to share. This might be shocking, but this baby, Lily, is mine. Hannah here isn't being honest. I have the papers to prove it." The room fell silent. A collective breath seemed to freeze the air. Mothers exchanged worried glances. Daniel squeezed my hand. I nodded slightly, signaling him to stay calm. Vanessa's smirk widened. I was at Lakeside Memorial. I was the one who... I stood up, calm and poised, my voice clear and steady. "Vanessa, please. Let's be honest here. Lily is my daughter. You were not there for her birth. You have no claim. Everyone, please, look at the facts." I handed a folder to the organizer standing nearby, who looked at me, confused but curious. Inside were printed hospital logs with timestamps, photos of Lily's first moments with visible clocks in the background, and a note from Rachel Novak confirming the hospital staff present that day. I continued, keeping my voice calm but firm. These logs confirm my claim. The hospital records, timestamps, and photos all show that Lily was born at 3:47 p.m. on April 12. Vanessa was not present. Any documents she presents are forged. And for clarity, here is a voice recording of her admitting she planned to claim Lily as hers for attention and support. I pressed play on my phone. Vanessa's voice echoed clearly, "Once she's out of the way, no one will suspect a thing. I'll make everyone believe she isn't the mother." Gasps swept through the room. Mothers murmured, some stepping closer to inspect the evidence. Vanessa's face paled, then reddened, then twisted into panic. She stammered, trying to regain control. That's not. I cut her off gently, coldly. "No, Vanessa. That is. And now everyone can see exactly who you are." A few witnesses I had lined up stepped forward, confirming the timeline and the inconsistencies in Vanessa's story. The crowd's attention shifted entirely. Vanessa's confidence crumbled, replaced by disbelief and fear. Daniel came to my side, wrapping an arm around me. I held Lily close, letting her soft coos provide a strange comfort amid the chaos. Vanessa's attempts to defend herself grew weaker with every corroboration. Finally, she slumped in a chair, utterly exposed. I felt a strange, exhilarating calm wash over me. Every insult, every whispered doubt, every social slight Vanessa had inflicted, it was all nullified. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I simply let the evidence speak. And it did. By the time we left the Greenwood Community Center, Vanessa was silent, shunned by the crowd. Mothers and friends approached me quietly, apologizing, offering support. I held Lily tightly, feeling the weight of victory settle into my bones. This wasn't just justice. It was a savage lesson, delivered perfectly. That night, as I tucked Lily into bed, I allowed myself a small smile. Vanessa's lies were unspooled, her performance ended. The trap I had set had worked, and for the first time since the betrayal, I felt peace. And deep down, I knew one truth: sometimes, the best revenge wasn't anger, it was precision, patience, and letting the liar destroy themselves under the scrutiny of everyone they thought would believe them. The day of reckoning arrived like a storm I had been waiting for. The Greenwood Community Center was buzzing, the mothers' group chatting casually, unaware of the confrontation that was about to erupt. Vanessa arrived early, radiant in her confidence, carrying her forged evidence like a shield. I followed shortly after, Lily snug against me, her tiny fingers curling around mine. Vanessa spotted me instantly. Her eyes narrowed slightly, but her smile was forced, theatrical. "Hannah," she said, voice dripping sweetness. "I see you've come. Ready to admit who Lily belongs to?" I kept my expression neutral. Calm, precise, unshakable. "I'm here to present facts, Vanessa. The truth will speak for itself." She laughed lightly, fluttering the papers. "Oh, facts, yes. But these?" She waved her forged logs. "They all say she's mine." The room fell silent as mothers and neighbors turned to watch. I felt their eyes on me, the anticipation, the curiosity, the judgment. But I didn't flinch. I had waited too long for this moment. I stepped forward, holding a folder containing hospital discharge papers, time-stamped photos, and a written statement from Rachel Novak. "Everyone, please, take a look at these documents. They confirm Lily's birth at 3:47 p.m. on April 12. Vanessa was not present at the hospital. Any claim otherwise is false." I pressed play on my phone. Vanessa's voice filled the room, clear and unedited. "Once she's out of the way, no one will suspect a thing. I'll make everyone believe she isn't the mother." Gasps erupted. Mothers leaned in, whispering to each other, some shielding their mouths in shock. Vanessa's confident posture faltered. Her eyes darted around, searching for allies, for validation, but all she found were stunned faces staring back at her. "You see," I said, my voice steady, almost surgical, "Vanessa has been lying. She wanted attention, support, and to manipulate everyone into believing she was Lily's mother. But here is the proof that she isn't." And here, I nodded to Rachel, who stepped forward, is testimony from hospital staff confirming what really happened. The room collectively turned toward Rachel, who nodded firmly, recounting Vanessa's absence and the correct timeline. Whispers escalated to murmurs, murmurs to outright disbelief. Vanessa opened her mouth, tried to argue, but the evidence was airtight. Her face twisted. Panic, desperation, shame. She tore at her hair, her perfect facade crumbling with each fact I presented. That's not," she stammered. "Is," I said softly, coldly. "Everything here is documented. Everything you claimed was a lie." Some mothers approached, asking questions, verifying details. Each answer dismantled Vanessa's story. She slumped into a chair, defeated, staring at the floor, powerless. The power she had wielded over our community evaporated like mist in the morning sun. Daniel moved closer, placing a protective arm around me. I held Lily against my chest, feeling the warmth of her tiny body, the steady rhythm of her heart. She was safe. Her mother was vindicated. The liar was exposed. As the room slowly emptied, Vanessa sat in stunned silence, surrounded by whispers of disbelief and judgment. I didn't gloat. I simply turned to Daniel and whispered, "It's over." But the truth was, it wasn't just over, it was finished. Vanessa's lies had been publicly unspooled, her reputation shredded. And I had done it without raising my voice, without tears, without giving her the satisfaction of watching me break. Later that evening, as I tucked Lily into her crib, I allowed myself a quiet smile. Vanessa would recover, eventually. But she would never be the same. She would remember this day every time she tried to manipulate someone. And for me, for Daniel, for Lily, it was justice served with a savage twist. I sat by the window, Lily asleep, and thought about how meticulous planning, patience, and precise execution could turn a moment of betrayal into a triumph of truth. Some people thrived on lies and manipulation, but when the truth hits, it hits hard, cold, and unforgettable. The days following the Greenwood Community Center confrontation were surreal. Vanessa had vanished from our lives almost entirely. Some neighbors approached quietly, offering apologetic smiles and tentative words of support. Others avoided eye contact entirely, as if witnessing her humiliation had left them nervous to engage with either of us. I spent my mornings with Lily, feeding her, watching her grow, and silently savoring the quiet aftermath. Every tiny milestone, her first laugh, her yawns, the way she gripped my finger, felt like a small victory. I had protected her. I had protected my family. And Vanessa's lies had been laid bare for everyone to see. But part of me knew that public exposure alone wasn't enough. Vanessa had to feel the sting, the cold, lingering impact of her defeat. Justice wasn't just about appearances, it was about making someone who thrived on manipulation understand, fully and personally, the consequences of their actions. One evening, Daniel and I prepared to visit Vanessa's apartment. I insisted on going alone with a calm, measured presence. Lily was safely with Daniel's mother for the night. As I approached the building, my pulse quickened, not with fear, but anticipation. Vanessa opened the door almost immediately. Her eyes widened slightly, but then hardened with defensiveness. "Hannah," she said, voice brittle, lips pressed tightly. What do you want?" I stepped inside, calm, letting the door close behind me. "I came to talk," I said softly. "Alone. You need to understand something before the world forgets your lies, because even when the gossip fades, the memory doesn't. Not for me." Vanessa's jaw tightened. I don't have anything to say." You already humiliated me in front of everyone. That wasn't enough? I tilted my head, letting a small, cold smile play across my lips. It wasn't enough. Not for me. Not for Lily. Not for what you tried to take from us. Her eyes flickered, uncertainty creeping in. She had expected me to retreat, to offer peace, to let the embarrassment of the public exposure suffice. She had underestimated me. I know exactly what you did, I continued, my voice calm but cutting. The lies, the manipulation, the way you tried to rewrite reality to suit your desires. You thought a few forged papers and some whispers would be enough. But it wasn't. Vanessa swallowed, avoiding my gaze. I just what? I asked, stepping closer, letting the silence hang. You wanted my daughter. You wanted the attention. You wanted control. And for what? A few days of imagined triumph? Her eyes flickered up at mine, and I saw the faint tremor in her hands. Hannah. I cut her off, my tone razor sharp. No excuses. No explanations. You manipulated people you called friends. You lied to their faces. You tried to destroy me and my family. And now, you'll live with the knowledge of your own betrayal, in private, in silence, exactly how it should be. For a moment, she opened her mouth, but no words came. Fear and shame tangled across her expression. I let the silence stretch, letting her imagination run wild, letting her recall the public exposure, letting her feel the lingering sting of her own choices. You thought you could rewrite reality, I said, leaning slightly closer, keeping my voice soft but icy. But reality is unyielding. Truth is unforgiving. And lies lie in wait until someone strong enough reveals them. Her face drained of color. The performance she had perfected for years, confidence, charm, manipulation, was gone. Only vulnerability remained, and I savored that coldly. I stepped back, letting the words sink in. You wanted my life, Vanessa. You wanted my child, my husband, my peace. But all you have now is yourself. And you'll remember this. Every day. Every time you try to pretend otherwise. Vanessa slumped into a chair, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. The woman who had once smiled at every social event, who had manipulated our world with her charm and deceit, now sat broken, quiet, fully exposed, completely powerless. I left her apartment slowly, deliberately, feeling the weight of victory in each step. The hallway seemed longer, the night air colder, as if the universe itself had acknowledged the justice I had delivered. When I returned home, Daniel was waiting. Lily gurgled softly in his arms, her tiny fingers curling around his. I took her, holding her close, feeling her warmth, her life, her innocence, the very thing I had fought to protect. We sat together in the quiet living room. The city lights spilled across the floor, but inside, peace had returned. Vanessa's lies had been destroyed publicly and privately. My family was safe. And the lesson was etched into memory, not just for Vanessa, but for me as well. Patience, precision, and unwavering resolve are the most savage forms of justice. In the following weeks, Vanessa withdrew from everyone. Friends who had flirted with loyalty shifted definitively toward reality. Apologies trickled in from those who had doubted me. I accepted them quietly, understanding that vindication was far more satisfying when tempered by grace. And yet, each night, as I tucked Lily into her crib, I felt a subtle, cold satisfaction. Vanessa would live with her failure, the echoes of her lies, the knowledge that she could not manipulate or destroy what truly mattered. And that, more than anything, was the most delicious, savage victory of all. I poured myself a cup of tea and leaned against the window, looking out at the quiet city. I imagined Vanessa alone, replaying the events in her mind, feeling the weight of every misstep. Sometimes revenge doesn't shout. Sometimes it whispers, and it's sharper, colder, deadlier because it's deliberate. And as I cradled Lily, asleep and innocent, I realized the truth: justice isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's the calm before the storm, the quiet knowledge that the liar's life has been forever changed by their own hands. I smiled softly, my hand resting over my heart. Vanessa had wanted my world, but she had found only the truth and the consequences of her own greed. And in that, I had delivered the most savage, unforgettable lesson she would ever learn. I tuck Lily into her crib, her tiny chest rising and falling with the rhythm of sleep. I sit back, sipping tea, and think about how fragile trust can be, and how devastating lies can feel. Vanessa thought she could steal what was mine, manipulate everyone around her, and walk away smiling. But here's the truth: patience, precision, and truth are far deadlier than anger. Sometimes the most savage revenge isn't loud, it's cold, deliberate, and unforgettable. Every lie she spun, every manipulation she tried, unraveled perfectly in front of the people who mattered most. And the best part? I didn't just expose her publicly. I let her live with the consequences privately. That lingering knowledge, the quiet realization of defeat, that's a punishment no courtroom can deliver. So, if you ever feel someone trying to control your life, manipulate your world, or steal what's yours, remember, the quiet, calculated response is the most powerful. The truth is always sharper than any scream, any outburst, any public humiliation. And for all of you watching, if you love stories of justice served with a savage twist, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to see exactly how the next liar meets their match.